Saturn in Aries. General predictions. While Saturn is in Aries, on the morning of May 25, 2025, Saturn will move into Aries. Although it will retrograde back into Pisces briefly, it will remain in Aries until April 13, 2028. And throughout this long period, you will witness significant changes. Certain structures will be exposed and seriously damaged. For example, Lee Harvey Oswald, the man who assassinated John F. Kennedy, had Saturn in Aries. This lone gunman managed to damage an entire system. Sadly, we may see more assassinations targeting political figures, along with heightened security measures. Attacks that appear to be individual efforts will actually prove to be highly planned and organized. It's also clear that certain systems will be sabotaged. Interestingly, the capture of the terrorist leader Abdullah Öcalan also occurred during a previous Saturn in Aries period. That was a time when the structure of a major terrorist organization was seriously weakened. This upcoming period will also see the rise of new system-building leaders. For instance, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the founder of the Republic of Turkey, and George Washington, the first president and founding father of the United States, both had Saturn in Aries in their charts. New systems will take center stage across the world, especially technological systems. We'll witness revolutionary developments in science and technology. The pace of technological advancement will be staggering, and keeping up with these innovations will be a challenge. Discoveries related to blood, the origin of life, movement through machines, and light will redefine scientific boundaries. Light? Aries is associated with light due to the sun's exaltation in this sign. Albert Einstein, a Saturn in Aries individual, brought a revolutionary new understanding of physics that centered around light. Could computers that operate using light instead of electrons emerge during Saturn's transit through Aries? It seems very likely. Even if these technologies don't become mainstream just yet, there will be groundbreaking progress and infrastructure development in that direction. We may also see extraordinary inventions made with materials that can manipulate the direction of light. With Neptune also in Aries during this period, holograms made entirely of light may become a reality. There could also be brand new information on how to store hydrogen, perhaps even leading to prototype systems. As Saturn transits Aries, we will see an increasing demand for energy and intense efforts to develop systems that use energy more efficiently. Speaking of light, matter is traditionally known to exist in 4 classical states: solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. But could a 5th state be discovered? It wasn't during the previous Saturn in Aries transit. However, the scientific developments of this era, combined with Neptune's simultaneous transit through Aries, suggest that the time has come. Since light has no mass, it's not considered matter. Yet the idea that light and matter are fundamentally the same may finally become a formal theory in the years ahead. We may witness groundbreaking knowledge about the earliest form of matter and how it acquires mass. In my book, Astrology Education 1, I wrote the following lines to explain the dance of Mercury and Jupiter. What gives mass to a particle? Every particle in the visible universe, including photons, moves through what is called the Higgs field. More accurately, as they fall from well to well in the universe under the force of gravity. Like Odysseus, they encounter various dense, less dense, unusual, boring, and wild regions along the way. It's like swimming in water, but the water varies. Sometimes thin, sometimes thick, sometimes calm, sometimes stormy. As particles move through this Higgs field, they gain energy, which grants them mass. Different particles interact with the Higgs field with different intensities. That's why some particles are heavier than others. That's also why splitting a piece of matter into its fundamental particles can unleash energy powerful enough to destroy an entire city. And that's why the Higgs boson, wrongly dubbed the God particle, became so famous. It doesn't actually create something from nothing. Rather, as you swim, like a Higgs boson, you need to increase your energy against the current. There are no equations that prove how mass is gained. But one thing is proven. It is impossible for a particle like the electron to move through the Higgs field and not gain mass. The upcoming Saturn in Aries transit will help you understand this. There will be advancements beyond our current era, The inherently premature and impulsive nature of Aries might actually pave the way for discoveries and technologies that are perhaps too early for humanity. Speaking of premature action, let me remind you of an example I once shared on my Instagram account. Angelina Jolie, due to her genetic background, chose to undergo a preventive double mastectomy before developing breast cancer. Cancer is symbolized by the sign Cancer, and Jolie has planetary placements in Cancer. She also has placements in Aries, which form a square aspect to her Cancer placements. In my experience and studies, square aspects are destructive. This clearly illustrates Aries' ability to deal with issues before they fully emerge, taking action ahead of time. So yes, during Saturn's transit through Aries, we will likely discover solutions that address certain problems before they even arise. Saturn will help structure this domain. Early diagnosis and prevention will be a major theme. You may even find ways to prevent diseases before their underlying mechanisms have formed. There's also another fascinating detail. Liam Blood, a British journalist with Saturn in Aries, is notable for one very specific reason. He was born using the frozen sperm of his deceased father. We know Liam's birth time, and his chart shows a night birth, meaning Saturn symbolizes his father. In summary, during this Saturn in Aries period, expect discussions about new reproductive technologies and the very process of life itself, and not just frozen sperm. Speaking of frozen sperm, we should also mention frozen humans. After death, a person's body can be cryopreserved using liquid nitrogen at -196 degrees Celsius. The goal is to preserve cells and tissues intact with the hope of reviving them in the future. My reason for mentioning both Liam Blood and frozen humans is this. I predict significant developments in reviving endangered species using preserved sperm, eggs, and DNA samples. While we already have cryogenic seed banks for plants, we still don't have such a bank for animals. But we should. Of course, new systems won't be limited to science and technology. Social and collective systems are also included. For example, Florence Nightingale, founder of modern nursing, had Saturn in Aries. So did Abraham Maslow, founder of humanistic psychology. Google and the American Federation of Astrologers, which I've been a member of since 1999, also have Saturn in Aries. Saturn and Aries transits also bring forth new brands, but not just popular ones. These brands introduce innovative products. Take Louis Vuitton, for example. His Saturn was in Aries and located in his career house. Before establishing the luxury brand we know today, he worked as an apprentice making travel trunks. In those days, people transported belongings in large, bulky boxes during travel. Vuitton developed lighter and more durable versions to meet those needs. His innovations gained popularity among the elite. Later, he introduced another major breakthrough: locks. His design solved a major problem of the time: security. In essence, Louis Vuitton's creations aim to improve daily life, just as Saturn symbolizes. And after all, isn't that what technology is for? You don't spend hours washing clothes anymore, your washing machine does it for you. When Saturn transits a zodiac sign, it both punishes past injustices, crimes, and problems associated with that sign, and offers opportunities to rebuild and resolve them. This is one of the ways humanity progresses through civilization. Aries, by its nature, is also about breaking through resistance. Therefore, especially in rigid systems, the problems will be significant. You may have noticed a common pattern in all the examples I've given. Louis Vuitton's brand was based on travel, creating trunks and containers for people on the move. His career was entirely built on the culture of travel. At the age of 13, he walked from his village of Ancay to Paris, a journey of approximately 470 kilometers, working along the way for several years. This journey was the most dramatic and symbolic experience of his life. Ataturk and George Washington are two of history's most well-traveled founding leaders. Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin of JFK, also traveled extensively, especially for an average American at the time. His international journeys at such a young age were one of the most striking aspects of his life. Light, electrons, things that never stay still. Florence Nightingale also traveled extensively for a woman of her era. Born in Italy, she visited many European countries, followed by trips to Crimea, Istanbul, and Egypt. For a 19th century woman, her international mobility was truly extraordinary. As for Abraham Maslow, founder of humanistic psychology, There are no notable international journeys in his life story, but he did travel constantly across the US for seminars, conferences, and lectures. That was part of his professional routine. Google and the American Federation of Astrologers have users and members all over the world. They're globally distributed by nature. This recurring pattern of travel connects to a doctrine in the astrology tradition I founded: Saturn's dignity through spacelessness. That is, Saturn gains dignity through associations with foreign lands, unfamiliar places, a lack of space, or creating new space. For more on this concept of dignity, see my book Astrology Education 3, if you haven't read it yet. But this travel motif also points to another theme: wearable and portable technology. For instance, exoskeletons, outer shells symbolized by Saturn, that allow elderly people or those with mobility limitations to move more freely outdoors. At the very least, we'll see prototypes of such technology, because the old, bulky technologies are being replaced by refined, sophisticated innovations. Still, global technology is in its infancy, especially in the field of biology. In mundane astrology, Saturn symbolizes islands. We may see the formation of new islands due to volcanic eruptions. Human-made artificial islands are also possible. The Canal Istanbul project is of particular importance to Turkey, and it first came into public discussion during a time when multiple celestial bodies were in Aries. Before moving on to individual zodiac sign effects, let me address astrologers and astrology students by briefly discussing personal impacts. Personal effects of Saturn in Aries will not differ much from the general themes I've already mentioned. The most important rule of Saturn transits, known for thousands of years, is this: you reap what you sow. In other words, wherever Saturn touches, people will reflect on what they've done in the past. Have they made life easier for themselves or others? If they've made life harder for others instead, then they can expect their own lives to become more difficult. Did they make wise decisions, or did they always take the easy way out? If they acted wisely, Saturn brings great rewards. But if they avoided responsibility and always let others decide for them, they'll now face the consequences. Those most harshly struck by Saturn are people who've acted unethically or broken the law. During Saturn transits, we often see such individuals exposed, humiliated, or forced to endure challenges, all in proportion to the severity of their wrongdoings. But Saturn's impact isn't just about harvesting what you've sown. There's more. When Saturn touches a particular area of your birth chart while in Aries, it will break apart rigid resistances in that area, making room for something new. People will be forced to take initiative, to take risks. Courage will be rewarded, as long as it's ethically sound. Those who are willing to put themselves on the line will succeed. Those who don't will be forgotten. People who avoid building their own systems will end up adapting others. Saturn will test your areas of resistance, especially if you're hiding primitive instincts behind the label of personal freedom. If that's the case, things won't go well. Because Saturn rewards not individuality, but social unity. Saturn also triggers major, significant transformations in the house it touches in your chart. It comes to open brand new paths in life. And don't forget, an athlete who is never pushed by their coach, never blocked, never forced to face hard truths or pain, can never become a champion. The last time Saturn transited Aries was from April 7, 1996 to March 1, 1999. If you're old enough to remember this time period, it might offer clues about what to expect in the upcoming years. But when reflecting on that era, try to interpret events through Saturnian symbolism. Otherwise, you might confuse them with other transits. Saturn's passage through Aries can restructure lives. It can lead to the fall of unethical people and reward those who act with integrity. It can expose those who operate in darkness and bring light to truth. It challenges rigidity and rewards courage. It asks, have you built something solid? Have you acted responsibly? If the answer is yes, you'll advance. If not, you'll be called to account. Saturn in Aries will push us to break through limits that no longer serve us. People will have to be braver, more entrepreneurial, and more proactive. Ethical courage will count more than ever. Those who take responsibility and act will gain. Those who shy away will fade into the background. Saturn won't reward rebellion for its own sake. It will reward those who serve society, those who step up, organize, structure, and take the lead when no one else will. Ultimately, Saturn in Aries comes to build new foundations, often through challenge, resistance, and hard-earned growth. Like a demanding coach, it may push you to your limits, but it's also preparing you for your championship moment to rise stronger, smarter, and more capable than ever before.